This is the Human Game Console podcast number 15. In this video, and I'll put the thumbnail later on because I'm on my mobile, so I don't have the images on my phone right now. I'll upload them later. Thumbnail and other wherever edits included. In 15 for Human Game Console, we're going to talk about choice and poise, as well as having something to prove as far as that has closure, even if people are right. So, there's a big ordeal with the experience versus dedication thing I've been on for many years, and the experience versus wisdom, insightful perspectives versus eternally correct facts for who all knows. Choice, as far as I'll put it, let's put it like this. There's two quotes I can use for this. Choice, family is who you choose, for sure, and choose what you learn. So, are you someone who just thinks that they have to go to college because they don't know what they're going to do with their lives? Or I'm not trying to throw stereotypes out shallowly. I'm sorry, but maybe I shouldn't be sorry about that. But sorry, not sorry, so to speak. Do you just go to college because you don't know what to do with your life and you have nothing better to do than assume that the degree you chose was the only option you had? Even though we have that attitude for a lot of things in life as well, we think that the right decision was the only choice we had, and it still ended up being the wrong decision. And I was like, wait a minute, that was the right thing to do. How was it a bad choice? And those only if or strategies of this was a good strategy, even if it was all complicated and it wasn't the good thing to do. As far as even Dr. Wolf's, thank you very much for shouting him out, Tony. That's me. Good choices, better choices, and best choices, and then or if you want to put it lightly instead of a shallow way, maybe choice may not be the best way to describe that, quote unquote. Good, better, and best options. So choices there, I think. Then we got poise. I'm not moving on for some reason. I didn't explain a lot without vagueness anyways. But poise, however, compared to choice, poise is a very good skill to have. Disconnection is a skill, not a curse. I'm sorry, I'm typing this thing over here. But it's a skill, not a curse. It's not supposed to be a bad thing to have disconnection. When you have boundaries and you block people on the internet and you ignore people who may or may not be worth your time, and maybe even if you accidentally ignore someone who had good intentions with you, and you still hate them, that's up to you to decide. Everyone has those rights and privacies and boundaries for a reason. They're not going to just assume that the best option they have is not worth avoiding. That's kind of why even when someone's right about something, they have a guaranteed fact or guaranteed eternally correct thing forever. It's up to you to decide whether you listen to them or not. You don't just assume that you have to listen to someone just because they're right for something that you could disregard. Because those connections and even logics don't connect to everything you think they would. Logic doesn't always lead to where you want to or even where you think it has to. Because there are things that not even logic can do. So when you have someone who's only right about something, you don't have to listen to them. They're not even going to be right about even certain things in that regard. Because the facts can be judged. You can actually be so down and bad about that you don't even know what you're saying if you have something that you want to prove arrogant or logical, and neither of those things have to be the point. But we can actually limit the arrogance thing in a second because I was going to anyways. But logic doesn't always, not even logic is always enough. Not even true correction for all eternity is going to be a thing and the point. When you have something to prove, make sure it's not standing on its own 2 feet by itself, because that sounds good. It's actually not. When you have something to prove, your ego somehow has a sort of a line to that anyways, even if you didn't mean to be selfish with it, or analytical thinking brain. You have a way to know that you can actually have something to prove for good intentions, and it can still be bad. That's how even I've made decisions before in my life where I was like, this has to be a good decision, or otherwise I'd be the fool here. And I ended up being the fool. Well, maybe it's self-preservation possibly, but I didn't disapprove it back then, but I didn't know it was a bad decision either. So many times like that as well in my life, but we live and learn. But that's a bit of a controversial insightful philosophy. So it's like but when you have something to prove, are you sure that it's not just driven by ego? If you were trying to avoid it or pursue it, if that's a paradox and contrariness, having something to prove and knowing that you were just trying to make sure that you didn't have to be the same person as other people, because as per my other popular quote, doing the same thing as other people doesn't make you the same person. So if you have to go to the gym, but you don't want to turn into one of your ex crushes who, who somewhat makes really awkward mental infinitum choices with their lives, not just on a physical level, but even on a mental, a spiritual, whatever, emotional decisions they make in their still relevant lifestyle as well, then yeah, going to the gym might be traumatic, because then you're like, what if I become the same person like them? What if I do the same things if even that has nothing to do with it? Well, here's the thing: for me to go to the gym and still be a different person by default and by own merits that can influence that if I need be, but still by default being different nonetheless. I know that when I do the same thing like that, it does not have to make it the same as those people. So that's my own trauma and projection right there. As I keep saying over and over, that's like the only other annoying thing I do on this channel, other than make low quality content that happens to be valuable, and then complain about other things that have nothing to do with me. And it's like, this is me how I am. But so yeah, choice and poise. Having something to prove, if even without closure, or with the closure, how you would go again. Cut here. If I add one, closure that you have for having something to prove, even if someone is right, even if someone's always going to be eternally right for a fact that they take for granted and judge, in the common sense that they take for granted as they weaponize it, not necessarily if it was used in the wrong way, but that is what it is. So take care, guys. That's all I got.